Righty ho, here we go. Now, this one was painful, folks. I'm sending this away with major corrections. It's not good. It's not good at all. I'm going to reference your boy Zach, Diversity in Comics, twice in this video. The first is to say I really couldn't be bothered doing this video 10 minutes ago, and then I played with my dog for a bit, and now I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm feeling energized, and I'm feeling like making this video. And if you didn't hate fucking dogs, and you got a dog, maybe you wouldn't be so tired before your videos, eh? Second thing is, he did a video which I've not watched called It Left Tears in My Eyes, or something like that. And yeah, it left tears in my eyes as well. It was so fucking bad that I was actually on the point of crying, because it was like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Murphy had the book. It was done. It was ready. He was owning it. He was killing it. All the pieces were moving. All the things were in place for a great payoff. And then he just fucking fluffed it. And yeah, this is my face after reading this book. That is me after reading this book. So it's not all bad news, right? This is the thing. It's still a strong book. It's still fun, but God, it's just not up to the standard it should be. The art is absolutely world class from start to finish. Absolutely brilliant. And I'll talk about the Bendis type thing in a minute. But first of all, this is really bugging me. Now, he keeps having Joker episodes. So in Arkham Knight, they had this thing of like the Joker switching back and forth, you know, from the normal person to kind of turning into the Joker. And they did this by showing the eyes going bright neon green. And it's kind of left to your imagination whether that's a physical transformation or whether it's perhaps just something in their face that can't really be described. You know, like, you've been in that sort of situation in life. And then, so in this, they just have him physically start transforming into the Joker. Now, it's not any more ridiculous than Bane transforming because of a steroid, you know, instantaneously. It's not any more ridiculous than that, but at the same time, I found it very jarring and hammy. And too literal. It was far too literal for a story, you know. It bugged me a lot. So this is where it all starts to go wrong. You know, Batman is sitting in Arkham Asylum. It's being pointed out that he could easily escape the asylum, escape his bonds, and he's choosing not to because he wants a showdown with the Joker. So that immediately you've wasted. There's no tension in this book. There's no tension. You've wasted the potential there, because I don't want to like fanfic this as to what I would have done, but what they could have done with the tools they've already provided is they don't completely mess it up yet, because he says, look, I know exactly what Joker's game is, I know exactly what Harley's game is, I have them in the palm of my hand, I don't need to go anywhere. But he's Batman. He's got lives to save and shit like that. He can't be locked up in Arkham for hours and hours. He can't afford to be. So, I don't know. I would have just had him break on out of there, and like they could have done some proper haunted house scary shit with Batman. Like, you know, if he'd broken out and the cops are all like, "Oh, holy shit," and he's like taking them out, and then the lights go off, and then, you know, Napier's suddenly be dangling off the roof, and Batman's like, "Right, we need to talk, or I'm going to drop you." You know, that would have been far better than what we ended up getting. And that's sad, because I just came up with that there. Yeah, of course I would think that as well. But, so they have this thing of like, oh, our doomed love, because I can't be a normal psychopath, I have to be the Joker, blah, blah, blah. And then we have this conversation, which again, right, they didn't have to go the direction I just said. They can do what... This would have worked. But the thing is, if you're going to have everything come down to a series of conversations, that's fine, but you have to be really good at writing conversations. Murphy isn't. And this is a sad thing, because see where Bendis, we would have got pages and pages of the same panels repeated over and over again, and just all these speech bubbles after speech bubbles. Murphy's strength is that he, despite the fact that most of this book is conversation, he uses so many angles. Like, see all the different angles and stuff he's using? it makes it completely digestible and it makes it fun to look at, even though it's a conversation, which is a skill, a real skill, and I admire that. However, the problem is what is contained within these speech bubbles is just not interesting. And that's being kind. It's either not interesting or it's just out of character or so on the nose. Like, so on the nose that you're going to get an actual nosebleed because it's really, really hammy dialogue. Like this, for instance, it's like Batman needs to know what happened to Jason Todd, so he's saying to Napier, I need to know. And Napier's like, well, it's like being two different people. I can't just go into Joker's head. And Batman just goes, close your eyes and concentrate. Oh, it's working. Like, that's the actual dialogue. Oh, it's working. Well, gee, Jack must have an IQ of about 4 not to have thought of that one before. Like, hey, how do I access the Joker's mind? Oh, maybe if I just close my eyes and think. You know, like, what the fuck? So then we also have this fucking plot device from Batman and Robin, the movie, where, you know, the whole city's been icified by a giant ice gun and everybody's kind of frozen where they are. So, like, they mention nothing of the potential body count. I'm assuming that because they've not mentioned it, these people will be thawed out, I'm hoping. And you'll be noticing as well, all the art all the way through this is stunning. If you remember in my older videos, I complained about him using really samey sort of camera angles. But not now. Now there are really dynamic angles even during the speech, and he's not repeating any panels, and he's switching up like every... This is what I mean, it's like this would have been Bendis speak, but actually it works because it's all broken up, and it gives you this sense of motion, even though it's a conversation. However, unfortunately, again, the contents of these thought bubbles is horrendous, and it's like... Spoilers, Joker has worked out that Batman is Bruce Wayne because of the Batman Devastation Fund, and all the funds come from Wayne Corp. That was kind of like, really? Really? Bruce fucking Wayne didn't think of that. And then, yeah, like I say, look, these are all people frozen where they stand. Nothing more said about it. They're basically just decoration at this point, which I find irritating. This is good. I like the Mr. Freeze thing, but again, they didn't... Everything about this book is you're waiting for this big payoff, and you don't get it. And I had conversations with people who don't like this book, and I was saying, well, no, I'm enjoying it, because I know that when these conflicts are resolved, it's going to be extremely rewarding. And actually, I was wrong. I wouldn't say they were right, but I was definitely wrong, because I still maintain that if the payoff was good, everything up till now was still fantastic. It's just that it's really not very rewarding as a payoff. You know, you've got the whole... Like, just because you've taken the concept from Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze, and put some Nazi paint over it, of like, oh, it was in the World War II, it doesn't make it any better. I also fucking hate Paw Patrol. I hate these uniforms. I hate the concept. I hate it has a name. I hate it's called the GTO. I don't even know why... But I find that irritating. And again, art, brilliant, and it's nice to see all the characters together. It just doesn't work. And this panel, by the way, this is the fucking money shot. This is going to be going on canvases on walls all over the world for decades. Look at that shot. Stunning. And he's done this like cool Steve McNiven style widescreen shot for it, which really accentuates the art. And it's nice to see all the Batmobiles. It's in... This is the other thing, is like, the dialogue is just really weak. I mean, Gordon literally says, everybody grab a Batmobile. Like, as it... This is not a normal occurrence, Gordon. For God's sake, like, have some emotion. And then, again, these physical transformations, I'd prefer if it was maybe more hinted at rather than physical, but that's just me. Maybe other people are cool with that. Again, the dynamic of Batman having to work with the Joker. What I'm trying to get at here, and maybe I'm not doing it the best job of it, is all the plot points work. It's the actual dialogue and how they're delivered that is awful. I'm getting to the worst of these in a moment. So, Batman and Joker having to work together to defeat a bigger enemy. That's a really interesting kind of plot point. The way they go about it is also interesting, of the fact that Batman is like, you're still going to prison, I'll just spare Harley. And the Joker's like, right, fine, deal. So Batman's still winning. And all that is really interesting, but it's how it's delivered is just painful. And then this is the worst bit. This is what Diversity used as his thumbnail for his I Could Have Cried thing. And this, yeah, I could have cried too, because it was just so fucking bad. Like, you give Batman gives a 5 panel soliloquy, and then gives them a cuddle. I mean, what in fuck's name am I reading? I don't mind like maybe a man hug between Dick and Batman, and like a hug between Batman and Barbara, but like, it's all the words. It doesn't even read like Batman. A good litmus test, you don't have to, but pick a Batman. So pick Christian Bale or pick Conroy and try and read it as one of them. It just doesn't fucking work. It does not work. And Batman is a man of few words. And like, so for this, I'm just gonna do it. Right? He says, I'll never be okay, and my hardest struggle has been trying not to let that affect you. One day I will leave a note like this. What would I say? Something about why I still fight as Batman, so that one day you can take off the masks. Like, this is an idea that again, plot point is interesting, delivery terrible. I have always found that an interesting idea of Tim Drake, Dick Grayson. The whole point is none of them can ever be Batman, because Batman, Bruce Wayne, is the guy who was stuck in the mountains of North Korea with nothing but a bowl of rice and, a deadly martial artist's master for 4 years, kind of thing. Like, they've never been through that. They've never seen true horror crimes, and certainly never prepared for it before they became vigilantes. Batman was already prepared to be Batman long before being Batman. And then they've never had that. So none of the sidekicks can ever be Batman. That's why there's so many of them, and I like that. I think that's a good concept. It's partly why you could argue maybe that Terry McGinnis is a good idea for being Batman Beyond rather than one of the sidekicks, because he can train Terry from scratch to be this, Bruce Wayne type figure. But yeah, anyway, so this is just, it's just so hammy. There's no excuse for this. That could have been done in a couple of speech bubbles. It could have been done even in a note. Like, the whole point is he's talking about how he can never leave a note like Alfred left. And, okay, fine. So leave one. Leave a note, but don't give us... And I mean, again, art's great. The composition's really good. The moral message is great, but it just does not read like Batman. And I just didn't like it at all. And I found it really, really cringy. He could have easily just, it's what isn't said that works with Batman, so he could have easily just said, something like, I'm sorry, this was never the life I wanted for you, and left. That would have been a lot more powerful than this. Here is an A to Z of my entire character motivation, and what this book needed is what they call in novel publishing a structural edit, which is where you send the book away and the editor reads the whole thing, and they say, look, your thing works, but you need to rewrite all the dialogue, or something like that. And that's what this needed. The story works, the plot points work, the script works. It's the dialogue that's terrible. And I've said to people already, it reads like he wrote this at the beginning when he wasn't brilliant, went back and then started at issue 1 and then started to improve all along the way, so that by the time he got to here again, we're getting his worst work so far. And the issue before this would have been his best work, kind of thing, if that makes sense. All this, Gordon apologises for arresting him, and he's like, oh, it's okay, you did the right thing at the time, this has all gone too far, and I'm going to turn myself... It's like, no, it's Batman, he doesn't do that. He just says, he should have just been silent, or at least said, it's okay, and got in the car. Something like that. And then, we have another Paw Patrol moment. I mean, it's fun seeing the Batmobiles roll out, don't get me wrong, but the whole dialogue thing is like... It's like when you're about to play a computer game and you get your little loading screen and they might have like an objectives thing scrolling down the side of like, here's what you've got to do. That's what it reads like, and I didn't enjoy it. So there is still time for redemption. There is still time for this to be an excellent book, but it's not good so far. I hope the final issue manages to redeem what they've done here, but I honestly don't know if he can, given how big the dip in quality was for this one. So let me know what you guys think. Just let me know what you guys think. I don't know, like, if I'm being excessively harsh, or maybe it just didn't get me, but this was cringy. Like, it wasn't, on a scale of 1 to Kwanzaa, it was probably only about a 4, but it was still cringy. So let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you and bye.